guys, welcome back to the Spill and Faith podcast. This is episode 7.
Yes, that's
That
crazy.
is
7 weeks.
Ooh, it's been longer than 7 because we missed a few.
Yeah, that's right. Because
That is
you were out of town and we were sick.
crazy.
That's
That is so
insane.
crazy.
Yes. We hope you guys have enjoyed it. Because we
Yes.
have enjoyed it. It's something that I look forward to. As much as it kind of stresses me out sometimes, and
Yes.
like I scrounge to like hurry up and make notes about it. I love it, and I feel like I get like a deeper dive in the word. Um, but anyway, so we hope everybody has had a great week. We're so glad that you're here with us.
Yes.
Today we're going to be talking about the woman whose faith healed her. This can be found in quite a few different
Yeah,
places.
there's 3
Yeah,
accounts of it.
Matthew, and then Mark, which I'm going to be talking about Mark 5, and then Chloe's going to be really focusing more on James, I think, right?
Luke 8.
Yeah, she's going to be
8.
focusing in Luke chapter 8, and I'm going to be in Mark chapter 5. It's like 21 through 34, I think, something like that.
It's the same story, but there's 3 different accounts: Matthew 9, Mark 5, and Luke 8. Um, so I think, do you want to just read? And
Yes, that's what
okay.
we can start. So first of all, which I'm going to be kind of in Mark, but like if you see something that you want to read
Yeah.
and yours jump to it, because that's just really where I've done most of my notes at. And like I
Yeah.
said, like last podcast, how it was kind of like a come and go, like read, stop, read, stop. That's probably what this one's going to be, just because I feel like it's easier for me to kind of break it down that part. And like
Yeah.
I said, really, if you want to stop, go ahead and do a full read through of this Mark chapter 5 verses 21 through 34 if you want to go ahead and read through that, and then like I said, we're just going to be kind of stopping and going through that. So starting in verse 21, Jesus got into the boat again and went back to the other side of the lake, where a large crowd gathered around him on the shore. Then a leader of the local synagogue, whose name was Jairus, arrived. When he saw Jesus, he fell at his feet, pleading fervently with him. "My little daughter is dying," he said. "Please come and lay your hands on her. Heal her so she can live." Jesus went with him, and all the people followed, crowding around him. A woman in the crowd had suffered for 12 years with constant bleeding. She had suffered a great deal from many doctors, and over the years she had spent everything she had to pay them, but she had gotten no better. In fact, she had gotten worse. First of all, I just want to kind of
Pause.
stop there. Yes.
Or false.
So we're talking about a woman who's had like constant and chronic like menstrual hemorrhage.
Yeah.
I guess is kind of what you can say. So like we don't know if it's kind of like an ovarian, cervical
Yeah.
cancer, anything like that. Whatever it's been chronic and it's not been good. So because of this at the time, because of the Mosaic law, she was treated as unclean
Yeah.
until this bleeding has stopped. Um, so the law that forced her to stay away from her family and really
And for
just
12
everybody.
years.
Yes.
12 years.
Yeah. She had spent all of her money in desperate attempt to be well again, and if she was caught around other people, she would have to pay with her life. Another thing is whenever it's using the word suffered, like I feel like yes, it says the word suffered, but like I feel like we just kind of glance over that. It's like yeah, she suffered, and like we kind of relate that to things that we have suffered with.
Yeah.
But I'm probably gonna butcher this word. So the Greek translation, it originally comes from the word Pasco, I think, or Pasco. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but anyways,
It's Greek. We don't
that's
know
not
Greek.
the point, okay? That's not the point, the pronunciation. Okay. So that word that they've translated into suffering, so it's not just suffering. Like this is a deep suffering, like mental, emotional, spiritual. This is just like a tormented suffering. Like you're talking about the worst agony that you can imagine
Yeah.
and the most like enough for a mental breakdown. This is a level
Right.
of suffering that we're talking about. It's not just nonchalant suffering, having a hard time. And in the 12 years, like her thoughts, her actions, her everything is all revolving around
Yeah.
this bleeding issue. Like this has consumed her whole life. Which I mean, if you think about it, if you were isolated and you had to be around your family and friends and you couldn't be around them, like everything, you're just going to be focusing on like, how can I get this stopped? How can I get back to it? Just in desperate for everything. And then it talks about she had spent, like all of her money going to the doctors, invested everything she had, and
And I
she
just think if she's
she got
away from
worse.
like all of these people, how's she even like making that money? You know,
I
like
know
that is just that is sad. It
it
breaks your heart.
it really is. It's super sad. Um So something that I had wrote down is what makes her story a victory.
Mhm.
So her desperation fueled her determination. It ignited her faith. And if you think about that, it's just, later on in the story,
Yeah.
like I said, it really helps if you do like a read through before, because like I said, we're just going to be going back one by
Mhm.
one. And later on in the thing, you'll see just at this level, like I can't even imagine the level of desperation, because I can only imagine what I
Yeah.
would be in that moment, just trying to do anything to stop that. Especially,
Mhm.
it's not just that she's like, as if the bleeding for 12 years was not enough of a problem. Now you're living under a wall that makes it unclean, that everything that I touch is unclean,
Yeah.
every person that I touch is unclean, and such a big deal. And
Yeah.
like, it to the point where she could be paying for it with her life, if
Mhm.
she was punished for it. Um, so I kind of did like points
Yeah.
through this, like it's easier for me to break up like whenever I'm
Mhm.
studying, to do like kind of header and points. So like
Yeah.
really I'm just kind of reading like through my notes.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's how you do it,
Yeah.
but like
No,
I
that's
just
how
kind
I
of
do it
read through my
exactly.
notes and talk about it. Because like I said, that's just how I feel like I can retain the information better, and that's how I can do a deeper study in it.
Mhm.
So one thing that I wrote is you can stop the bleeding in your life caused by chronic destructive issues. The devil is a liar and you can be free. I don't know about you, but I'm very self-destructive.
Mhm.
I'm getting better, but that is one thing that I have struggled with, is I feel like I'm harder on myself and
Yeah.
destructing myself. It may not be a physical bleeding issue that I have, but it's something else that I'm struggling with, that I'm really like kind of tearing myself down on.
Right.
And I feel like the devil is really good at using that and
Mhm.
using that manipulation, and it kind of fuels that.
Yeah.
Um, so I kind of did like lessons that we can learn from her.
Mhm.
That's really what helped me the most. So the first lesson I wrote is number one: when you want it bad enough, you will pay the price, which is the absolute truth.
Yes. Tilly.
Sorry, Tilly is playing
She
with her crinkle
is
toy and it is bothering the mess out of me. I don't know if y'all could even hear it, but
probably not. I
it
could barely.
it was stressing me out beyond means. Like it was triggering me. It's been a long day. We didn't even really do an introduction, but
No.
just as a little backtrack, be glad that you can't smell us, because Chloe has got pond water from her dog all over her, and we had two calves that we had to go catch, and I had to take the Australian Shepherd and the healer, so I smell like wet dog and cow. So, anyways, I just feel like we needed to address that, because
Yes.
it's just, and mind you, you can't see, but it is nighttime outside. We were supposed to film this like 3 hours ago.
Yep.
So,
It's okay though. Hi,
yes,
Tilly.
it's all coming together. Anyways, like I said, sidetrack moment. Just felt like I needed to address that and put that out there, because I feel like I'm hot mess express right now. And it's just like, I don't feel like I've had a moment to kind of calm down.
Yeah.
But, anyways, back to the story. Okay.
Reeling it back
So,
in.
lesson one: when you want it bad enough, you'll pay the price. Okay, do we wish God would intervene in our lives, or do we want God to intervene in our lives? Wanting is far deeper. It requires greater personal investment. It's a spiritual price you are willing to pay for results.
Yeah. I
That
just
hit me so
yeah.
hard. Do we wish God would intervene, or do we want God to intervene?
Yeah.
Because, okay, let me tell you this. You know what I thought about? Do I wish that I would be skinny and fit, or do I want to be skinny and fit?
Oh
That is what's
my.
laying on my heart,
Yes.
because if I wish
1000.
I was skinny and fit, I just wish I was skinny and fit. Do I want to be skinny and
That you
fit?
are putting in the work.
I'm gonna be drinking that protein shake. I'm gonna be getting up early and working out. I wish I was skinny and fit. So
But I'm still gonna eat that burrito.
yes. So I'm gonna still live, laugh, love, and I'm still gonna eat what I want, and I'm not gonna, worried about it, because I'm wishing if I wanted to, it would be a different type of drive.
Right.
And like I said, wanting to pay the price, wanting to
Mhm.
sacrifice, wanting to get up early, wanting to miss out on that chocolate cake that I love so dearly. It's just a different type of thing. And there might be a day in my life where I want to be skinny and fit instead of wishing to be
Just
skinny
a
and fit.
day. Just
Yes.
a day.
And then I can aspire for that. But, all jokes aside, really and truly, it's all about how bad you want it. And if you want it bad enough, you're going to be willing to pay the price for it. Just like it says, she was so desperate to stop the bleeding that she turned to um, the doctors, everything. It's been everything that she had, and every desperate attempt to, get better. So let's see. Okay, so she had heard it. So she was talking about, going to the doctors and she had gotten worse. So, verse 27, she had heard about Jesus, so she came up behind him through the crowd and touched his robe. For she thought to herself, if I can just touch his robe, I will be healed.
Pause.
Yes.
Hold on. Pause. Okay, y'all, when this really got me because it's just if you have watched The Chosen, which we are big advocates for The Chosen, you should watch The
Yep.
Chosen. In this scene, you can just see like that want to get there because she believes in it so much that faith is so strong and she just you can see her just repeating it over and over again. One touch, just a thread.
Yep.
Just a thread. Like, guys, these pants are perfect for this because not my feet, but like this thread. If somebody is like just touching this like right now, I don't know that you're touching me. I have no clue. I would not know that you were doing this. Like, that's what kind of touch it was. It wasn't like a, Grace, do you feel me doing this?
Yes, I know.
Like, it was this. I don't feel that. It wasn't a physical touch like, oh, I feel somebody touching me. No,
It was his robe that she touched, and he could feel
it was a
the
power.
Yes.
Y'all, if that does not give you chills.
The healing power. And that's another thing, talking about the sacrifice. Do you know how much sacrifice it was? Every person that she bumped and touched and everything to get through the crowd, they were marked as unclean. This woman could have been put to death for being in this crowd and touching all these people, but it was something that she was willing to pay. So it reminds me of quite a few different things. So first of all, in Mark 9, the disciples, they asked Jesus why they couldn't cast the demon out of a child. Jesus was talking about, hey, this is a type of demon that can only come out by prayer and fasting. Once again, that is a price that's going to have to be paid, to get this demon out. That's a sacrifice that's going to have to, kind of happen. And then again, Matthew 19, this is verses 16 through 29. This was about the young ruler who was rich, had everything that he wanted, but he still felt empty inside. And he was like, what do I do to, fill this void? And God was basically like, sell everything that you have and, give it to the poor and
Right.
you'll, fulfill that. So if he wanted to fulfill that emptiness and that hollowness that he had inside, that was something he had to do just for that peace that he desired.
Yeah.
So I wrote, the woman proved that she was willing to spend every dime she had. She was willing to move through a packed crowd. She was willing to defy every obstacle in order to stop the bleeding. Once again, you want it bad enough, you'll pay the price. So like I said, just her, like, it wasn't just that she was pushing through a crowd, kind of like because it was crowded. It's the fact that needs to be, she was risking her life pushing through the crowd to get to Jesus because she knew,
that was the only thing.
yes, she said to herself, if I can touch his robe, I will be healed. Not if I stop and get Jesus to pay attention to me and pray over me and do some sort of miraculous thing, I'm going to be healed. If I could just touch his robe, if I could just touch his robe, then I'll be healed. That's all that I need to do. That's all that needs to happen. Which is just crazy. That enough. Like the story could have ended there, and that would have just been
That would have been enough.
just enough showing in her faith that she's risking her life going in there and touching his robe. Okay. So, do you have anything else to add before I move on? Okay.
One thing about this is like a different route than like I'm looking at like Jesus's thoughts.
Yes.
Like he is on the way to heal this girl that is about to die. Like it's the synagogue leader's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
She's about to die. And I'm just sitting here thinking, like, I'm putting myself in this position of like, okay, if I know that I have to be somewhere to heal somebody, this is important, right? I'm gonna be like, let's go. Or if I know I gotta be somewhere at like 6 or like work or something, I'm gonna be like, okay, I gotta go, like let me leave at this time, whatever, and get there. Not rushing, but just knowing. But sometimes I do get ahead of myself and I start rushing.
Yep.
But like, Jesus wasn't rushing. He had all of this crowd of people, and it's like, he's just, okay, like, just getting, like, that just shows, like, God's timing.
Yep.
And also, one more thing, and this might be getting a little bit ahead, but, like, it says, like, all of this crowd is, like, touching around him, like pressing in, like it's a big crowd of people trying to talk to him, just whatever. It's like everybody's touching him. You're in a big crowd. Think about a concert, like you're getting touched by multiple people.
Yes.
And it's not the touch that healed, it was her faith. Because if every single person that got healed just by touching him, if it was just a touch, everybody would have been healed. But it wasn't. It was her faith, not just the touch.
Yep. I know, it's crazy. Yeah, another thing, so the second lesson that I kind of did, because like I said, she's kind of, and I feel like that's okay, like her kind of doing like a Jesus point of view, and like that's what I think the beauty of this podcast is, having two different people, is you look at a story and there's like so many
Yeah.
different interpretations that people get out of it, and so many different
Yeah.
points that people, and views that people get out of it. So that's what I kind of like about having that, and we just kind of piggyback off of each other throughout the story. So a second point that I made was you've got to make the decision to get to Jesus. So Jesus is healthy and walking with his disciples, trying to get to this girl to heal her. This woman has been bleeding for 12 years and is very sick. Do you think that she is being able to like walk and keep up with the pace and be healthy? Like, no, this woman is probably beat down. Who knows if she's
I mean,
crawling?
she's lost so much blood.
Yeah,
Like,
she can't be healthy. And then it's to the point that she spent everything, which, okay. So something that kind of gets me, so she had spent all of her money. So this is kind of like off left wing that I just kind of thought about. So it said she turned to the doctors and everything like that. So she turned basically to the world to heal her,
Yeah, and it
and she
didn't. That's
only
another thing
got
bad.
worse.
Yep.
And you know something I just thought about? These doctors, they were willing to help her until she used all of her money, and then all of her money was up, and they were like,
bye.
you're unclean. Sorry, we got to mark you the Mosaic Law. You're unclean. We can't heal you anymore. That's something
Yeah.
I just thought about. Kind of, okay, going on a tangent right here.
It's okay. I was about to go on the same one.
Is this thing on? Okay. So I'm just saying, because I've been through it. I know. Just preaching to the choir over here, because I have lived through it, and I know. Whenever I was out partying and with all the people that I should not have been with and doing things that I should not have done, they were all for it and everything else. And then whenever I got beat down and I was ready to turn my life over to Jesus, and I was like at my lowest point, that it was like, I can't do this anymore. When I tell you that all those people did not have anything to do with me anymore, whenever I wasn't there as the good time, whenever I wasn't there to go out and party or go do whatever, when I tell you those people abandoned me in a heartbeat, I mean it truly. Whenever I was not the good time party goer and go do this and go do that, they all left. So, and Jesus was, of course I had my family and friends and stuff, but like God was the main one that's going to be with me
Right.
through the good, bad, ugly, whatever it's going to be. He's not going to leave me. He's not going to abandon me.
Yeah. And that is like that is the hardest thing ever. Like, I know, and listen, guys, we have this front camera, so it's like we're preaching to ourselves. Not like
Yes.
preaching, but yapping to
Oh, yeah.
ourselves to like get this point across. But it's like, that is the hardest thing because, like, for me, being in a relationship, I was like, okay, but this person is supposed to love me and cherish me, and like, I don't want to like do something or say something that's gonna make me lose that person. And it's like, but no, because if you're putting yourself in like what God says first and they don't stay, that's on them.
Yep.
Like, if you're like, nope, setting boundaries, I'm not gonna do this,
Yes.
this, and this, and they don't want okay, bye.
Yeah.
And that is the hardest.
Yep.
That was one of the hardest things because it was like, I don't want to lose you, but this is not what's good for me.
Yeah. Because at that point, they're just standing in your way. Because, like,
Yeah.
back to my second point, you've got to make that decision to get to Jesus. You are walking to Jesus. You are walking towards Him. And if you feel like, you're on a different level and you can't get to Him, then you got to start walking a different walk.
Yeah.
You got to start walking righteousness.
And that is hard.
Godliness.
That is hard.
You got to become separate of the world. Do whatever you can, even if you're on your hands and knees, crawling, probably like this woman was.
Ugh.
Do whatever you can to get to Jesus, because that is what's going to save you. That is what's going to help you. Like it said, she turned to the world, turned to the doctors. It only got worse. It got worse whenever she turned to the doctors, whenever she turned to the world for healing. But whenever she turned to Jesus and she was like, I just need to touch the hem of his robe, she was immediately healed. Whenever she got to her lowest point and was desperate and was like, I just got to touch the hem of his robe and touch Jesus's robe, she was
It's
healed whenever she finally turned to him. So, like I said, if you feel like something's standing in your way, get it out. Whatever you feel like it is. If it's social media, if it's a person, if it's a job, if it's whatever it is, as hard as it is, and let me tell y'all, I know,
yeah,
as hard as
we
it
know.
is, get it out of the way. And you don't have to tell that person and be like, listen, I got to cut you off in my life because God said that's what I need to do. You can be better about it than that, but you gotta just start, get to
Okay.
Jesus. That's the end goal.
Yes, and
Yeah.
when y'all, I have lost my pen. I don't know where it's at. I am the pen loser. I was about to write this verse down so I would know to put it in there, but I've lost it. So we'll just pray that I remember it. Um, Luke 9. Um, I guess I'll start in 23, verse 23. Then he said to the crowd, if any of you want to be my follower, you must give up your own way, take up your cross daily, and follow me. If you try to hang on to your life, you will lose it. But if you give up your life for my sake, you will save it. That was just 23 and 24. But, guys, like, if you just, if you give up everything, like worldly things, and just Jesus is your main, like that should be first, and that's it. That's your first priority, because the most important thing in this world is putting God first and obeying him.
Yeah, like you just need to ask yourself, this is something that I do on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Is this going to take me closer to Jesus? Because if
Mhm.
it's not, I don't want it.
Yep.
Is this going to take me closer to Jesus? And then that's
Yeah.
that's what I do. It doesn't matter what obstacle you have to get over. It doesn't matter what you have to cut out of your life. If it's not taking you closer to Jesus, then that
Yeah.
is the wrong direction. That is the wrong way. You are walking the opposite way, and we need to make
Mhm.
sure that we're getting to him. That's also to say, if you have walked away from him, if you feel like you are as far as you can be from him, there is a way to come back. Jesus
Yeah.
is still there. Even when you don't feel him, he is there, and he is wanting you to
1000%.
come back. Do not be too ashamed of anything or feel like
Mhm.
you can't come back or that you've been too far gone or you've been too cut off. That is the furthest thing from the truth.
Yes.
So like I said, you can come back, and like just a thing that I think about all the time is, this going to bring me closer to Jesus? Does this bring glory to God? Does this honor God? And really, if you try to live in your life by that, that's going to help
Yeah.
a lot. So going on, okay,
Off
so
of our tangent.
yes. For she thought to herself, if I can just touch his robe, I will be healed. Verse 29. Immediately the bleeding stopped, and she could feel in her body that she had been healed of her terrible condition. Immediately. Verse 30. Jesus realized that once the healing powder had gone out from him, so he turned around in the crowd and asked, who touched my robe? His disciples said to him, look in this crowd pressing around you. How can you ask who touched me? But he kept looking around to see who had done it. Then the frightened woman, trembling at the realization of what had happened to her, came and fell to her knees and in front of him told him what she had done. And he said to her, daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace. Your suffering is over.
Pause. 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 Okay, that just, that should tell you that God sees you.
Yep.
Jesus feels when you are trying to reach out to him like so hard, and he feels that. He sees you. Like, he's not just going to abandon you. But mine says, when the woman realized that she could not stay hidden. Like, you're not hiding anything from God. He sees it. And you know what's crazy about it? He sees everything, and he still chooses to love you.
Mm-hmm.
He still chooses every single day to say, that's my daughter. He, in mine, I don't know if Mark says this, but I do know this. 48 of Luke 8, daughter, he said to her, your faith has made you well, go in peace. He called her daughter, y'all.
Yep.
Daughter.
And I feel like it just shows it wasn't just that she thought it, she believed it, she spoke it over her life, she truly believed her words, she truly believed, and that's the thing, like our words have power. They have so much power. I had it wrote down to read Mark chapter 11, 23 through 24. And it says, I tell you the truth, you can say to this mountain, may you be lifted up and thrown into the sea, and it will happen. But you must really believe it will happen and have no doubt in your heart. I tell you, you can pray for anything, and if you believe that you received it, it will be yours. Okay, hold up. I don't know if y'all heard that or not. I tell you, you can say to this mountain, the mountain, may you be lifted up and thrown into the sea, and it will happen. It will happen. But, here's the but, you must really believe it will happen. And, these are where they get you, and you must have no doubt in your heart. I can honestly and fully say that whenever she was saying, I just need to get to Jesus and touch his robe, there was no doubt in her heart. It was all faith. She truly believed it. She would have not risked her life and done what she done if she truly did not believe that Jesus had that much power and he was just that great that she could just touch the hem of his robe and be healed. It wasn't
Yeah.
that she was calling out for help. It wasn't that she was trying to pass along the word, somebody get Jesus to me. It was, if I can get there and I can just touch him, that it'll be enough to heal me. So I wrote down, when you get this, you can trust God to stop the bleeding in every area of your life, which is
Yeah.
true. Whenever you get that and you can understand that it's a heart thing and you have no doubt in your heart, God is able to stop the bleeding in every area of your life. And like I said, it doesn't just have to be a physical bleeding. It could be whatever it is in your
Yeah.
life, whatever you're thinking, whatever you're struggling with, whether it's, I've got this sin, but it's not as obvious and people don't know. And whatever I look at in my private time or whatever I say in my private time, nobody else knows about it because it's not in public. And this is my personal struggle, you know, that could be a bleeding, you know, or whether it's you're having marriage problems or problems at school or, you know, whatever it's going to be, whatever you're struggling with, you know, God has the power to stop the bleeding. But going back from the get go, you
You gotta
have to
want it.
pay the price and want it bad enough. You've got to make the decision to get to Jesus and walk the walk. And you have got to say it and believe it.
Walk the walk, talk the talk.
Yes. That is so true. Um, and then I just kind of wrote down, the enemy is not too strong. If God is for us, then who could be against us? We are not weak when our strength is found in the Lord. And you have to remember that on our own, we are weak
We
as
are
all get out.
nothing.
Yes.
We are absolutely nothing.
But whenever our strength is found in the Lord and whenever our identity is in the Lord and everything about us is in God, there's
Yeah.
like, who can stand against you? You know, the enemy stands no chance. And that's all it is like whenever you feel too beat down or you feel like your faith is worn out, you know, that's just the enemy attacking you.
Yeah.
And I can say, like, and like, you know, today I was kind of talking with somebody in my life that's, you know, important to me. And they were just talking about, like, over the last several months, how much closer I've got with God. And, like, you know, things are happening in my life, things are changing in my life, there's a lot going on. And they're just like, you know, this has all happened because, you know, growing closer to the Lord. And that's what it is. Like, whenever you get closer to God, and I have fully got to a point where I have full faith in Him. And when I tell y'all the level of faith that is happening right now and the level of peace that is over me, and for somebody else looking out on the situation, they'd probably be like, what in the world is going on? Like, how are you calm about this? Like, I'm at so much peace and so calm about it and just, you know, so okay with everything that's happening because I've truly hit rock bottom. I've come back to God. I have surrendered everything to God. I put my faith in God. I like, when I tell you God has been my best friend, like, I seriously, and like,
Yeah.
I've heard that before, you know, growing up, being in church, youth group, and they're like, you know, Jesus is my bestie. I'm like, no, but for real, Jesus is my bestie. Like,
Yes.
you don't understand. Like, we talk to each other all the time now. He is on speed dial, okay? I
Yes.
stay that ear, it stays burning because I'm telling you, I stay talking and I just like throughout the day I'm like, dear Lord Jesus.
Are you listening? I know you're
Yes.
probably tired of me yapping, but
Yes, and when I tell you, like, it is just so refreshing to finally have that type of relationship
Yes.
with the Lord, and like and when you feel it's a change, it's one thing, but then when you have other people approach you and be like,
Yeah.
I'm seeing a change in you, it's
Mhm.
just something like, it just makes it even more real and even more assuring that like, okay, like what I'm doing this time, like it's actually clicked. And it
Yeah.
might take, quite a few times to click. Like I said, I grew up in the church. I thought that I had a great relationship with God. Kind of things
Yeah.
started getting rocky, during my young, adult years, which I'm still in my young adult years, but younger, like transitioning from that teen to adult stage. Things started getting rocky through there, and then I kind of got distance from God, and
Mhm.
then finally hit my rock bottom, and just coming back, I feel like it makes you appreciate that
Yeah.
relationship with God that much more, because like I know his power now. I know what he's pulled me out of. And just like her, I'm sure there's no telling like what stories at the time that she had heard. And her just being to a point where she was so desperate, which whenever I was at my rock bottom, I was so desperate. And like she was talking about, it's not just suffering, it's suffering to the point of a mental breakdown. We're
Yeah.
talking about emotional and spiritual suffering. Do you know how
Yeah.
bad you have to be suffering to suffer emotionally and spiritually? So, like I said, it's just to have that level of suffering, to have that level of desperate, to turn to the world and things get worse, and just right there show you that God, He's the
Yeah.
Almighty, and we can do whatever we want to on this world, but really it's going to be God that heals us. God is going to be the ultimate
Yeah.
healer, and he's going to be the one that it's all in his plan, it's all in his timing. And when we turn to him, things start lining up
Yeah.
and we're able to be healed. But you have to have that faith. Um, and I feel like that probably needs to be a podcast on its own, how to build that faith,
Yeah.
because it's a lot easier said than done. Like, yes,
Yeah.
I have faith in Jesus, and then be like, no, I have faith in Jesus. Like, I
Yes.
know what God can do. Just like I talked about earlier, wishing God would
Yeah.
intervene and wishing God would doing this and wanting God to intervene and wanting God. Whenever my prayers and my life turn from God, I wish you would do this, to God, I want you to do this.
Yes.
God, I'm doing
Like
everything
that
on my end.
pleading.
Yes, I'm doing everything on my end for this to happen. And God, I want you to. God, I need you to. I'm
Mhm.
turning it over to you. It's not just I wish you would handle this, but don't touch this part of it because I want to handle this part and I want to
Yeah.
micromanage and I want to do this. No,
You don't get
God,
to pick and choose.
yes, yes. God, I need you to. God, I want you to. God,
Yeah.
I'm handing it over to you. You get it fully. I have faith in you. And like I said, whenever you have that, like I'm telling you right now, like I understand what this woman is about, because if it was to the point,
Mhm.
like I know that if I seen Jesus, I would be the same way, risking my life, pushing through that crowd to get to Jesus,
Yes.
just to touch the hem of his robe. Not even like I've got to have this one-on-one time with him, this special like ceremony type
Right.
thing, this crowd of people to see everything. No, I just need to touch his robe, and if I can touch his robe,
I mean,
that'll be
she
enough
even
for me.
tried to just hide and go, and it even says when the woman realized she could not hide any longer, like she didn't want it to be this big thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've always like when people will be reading stuff like Peter going and walking on water, and it's like, okay, if Jesus were to say, "Come on, step out on this boat," would you? And I used to be like, "Heck no!"
Yeah.
Like, no, there's no way. Or like, I don't even know when Noah was building the ark. If they were like, okay, what would you do if you were in their shoes? And it's like, it's a different time because like we're not used to like God speaking like directly to us, and we didn't really like live with Jesus. Um, but it's like I'm like, oh no, there, nope. I really don't think that I would do that. But now I'm like, absolutely,
Yeah.
yes, yes, because that faith is so strong, and like having that faith makes you do things that other people would be like, what is this crazy person doing?
And with that being said, like it's one thing to have faith
Mm-hmm.
and then to have faith and act on it.
Yes,
Because the word says faith without works is dead.
dead.
Did you hear me? Dead. Having faith, not saying having mediocre faith, having faith in
Mm-hmm.
God without works is dead.
Dead.
So if we're going to have that faith, you're going to have to, like I talked about earlier, make their sacrifices, give up stuff, walk the walk of righteousness and godliness, and walk away from the world, do things like that, get closer to God. Another thing that I wrote, because of course I take notes on my notebook, but then whenever I'm at work, I think of stuff, or if I'm going somewhere, I think of it. So I keep a whole nother thing on my phone.
We have notes
But
everywhere.
yes, but another thing that I wrote that I've been, kind of like earlier was talking about it. Do you believe God or do you believe in God?
Oof.
Because that's a big difference too.
There's
And that
a fly.
did it go on the camera?
That's
I
crazy.
think it did. Listen, this is the fly that's been with us for 7 episodes, okay? I kid you not. Chloe can attest.
Oh,
Every time that we start the podcast,
It's on my phone right now. I'm not
yes,
even kidding.
every time we start this podcast, this fly comes out of nowhere.
That was funny.
Yes.
That's our new mascot.
Yes. But anyways, so like I said, I feel like I've got on a tangent, but at the end of the day, you have to have faith, you have to act on it, you have to be willing. If you want it bad enough, you'll make the sacrifices for it. I feel like this has been kind of like a tough love episode, but I feel like it's needed every once in a while, kind of like
Yeah.
you can't always,
Yeah.
just I don't know what I'm trying to say.
No, I get it. My brain just like my thoughts just left my brain. I was thinking about the fly, and then I had my phone on Do Not Disturb, but my mama starts calling me, and I'm like, why is she calling me? And my brain just like leaked out of my ear. Okay, focus.
Y'all,
Okay.
we're trying to be raw and real because, like I said, it is.
What? God, no! We're definitely keeping that in there because that's hilarious. Okay, hold on, wait. Zone back in. Blake.
I'm gonna puke. My husband is about to get the living mess beat out of him because he just smacked up against this window when Chloe and I were home alone. I think I'm gonna throw up.
Oh my gosh, that was a scene of unfortunate events.
Okay,
Serious.
guys. So, anyways, wrapping it. We're
Blake.
trying to close the podcast. Just shut the door. Can you stop moving for just a second?
Is he serious?
I thought that scare factor was the best way to end it.
No.
Did you know that we were filming?
Yes. Okay, just stop for just a minute. Okay, but with that being said,
Okay, with that being said,
Yes.
I feel like a lot of, like, I know me thinking, I would be like, but I've done too much stuff to have this great faith. Like, there's no. I have wrote in here, no one is too unclean for God. This one was unclean
Yeah.
for 12 years. 12. 12.
she was marked, unclean by everybody. And, just like I said, having that sacrifice and going back to it, if you want it bad enough, you're going to make the sacrifices
Yeah.
for it. You've got to make the decision to get to Jesus, whether it's crawling, whatever it is, putting up people aside, cutting out people in your life, and you've got to start walking that walk to get to Him. So walking in the right way, because if you're not walking the right way, you're not going to get to Him. And you've got to say it and believe it. So I think that's all I have for this
Yeah.
podcast. And
That was Blake.
that's my wonderful husband. Don't you just love him?
Love them. Men. How fun.
Anyways, but thank you guys for watching. We'll be back
Yes.
next week. We might have a special guest.
Might.
We're trying to get some things in the work to get some guests on here because we have a whole list of people that we want on the podcast, and people that we want to share their testimony.
Yeah.
But we've been trying to work it out because we only have 2 mics, so we can barely do it with both of us. But we're going to
Yeah.
attempt it, so just bear with us as it's Hot Mess Express. I'm sorry if this podcast felt rushed. It's just been
Yeah.
kind of a manic afternoon,
Yes.
but thank you guys for all the love and support. We hope you keep watching. We love doing these. It's just something that we look forward to every week. So,
And go follow all of the accounts, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. They're all Spilling Faith podcast, except TikTok is spilling.faith.podcast.
Yep.
Yes.
And on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, turn on the notification so you can be alerted whenever we post. And feel free to
Yes.
share them with whoever. We love whenever,
On
they
whatever.
get shared.
Do
Yes.
whatever you want.
We
Yes.
appreciate it. But anyways, we will see you guys next week.
Go make heaven crowded, guys.
Yes, thanks. Bye.